What's going on, everybody? Today I am taking a look at Theta versus the price of Bitcoin. Theta versus Bitcoin to me is more an important chart because at the end of the day, if it's not beating Bitcoin, then what's the point, right? So not only does Theta have to beat the dollar, but it also has to beat Bitcoin in order for it to be a rational investment. So where are we in this Theta versus BTC chart? Well, it looks like we're at the bottom. And it looks like, we're at that point where we should see either some sideways consolidation, building, support on top of all of this right here. So this is kind of like our base, right? And basically we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We had 5 waves to the upside. So that was our impulse. And now we're steadily going down. You could see we went up faster than we are going down, which means the trend is impulsing, and this down sort of bear market is corrective behavior, which tells me that it's probably going to reverse at some point. If I pull a Fibonacci, where are we on that Fibonacci? Flip that back to log scale. We are right at the 702, between the 786 and the 702. So, that's usually where people are taking profits, right? Right in here between the 618 and the 702 and even the 786. So, let's see if that's the case and it continues to hold the price. So, in other words, we are at a pretty interesting level, if you'd ask me. So the big question is this the bottom? Is this the bottom of this sort of downtrend we've been in? And can we expect a reversal? Well, according to Elliott Wave, it looks really choppy, so it'd be kind of hard to count it. But if I do my best, I would like to say this is 1 and 2, but I can't do that. The reason why is because if you look real closely, you can see this wave is higher than this wave. So that can't be a 1-2, even if it's one tick above. So it can't be a 1-2. So I'm going to have to count it from here. So I would count this as a 1. This would be a 2. This is just all chop, chop, chop in here. So this is your next subwave. So, all these are your subwaves. So I would count that as wave 3. You see a 1, 2, 3. You have a 3-wave pullback. That's wave 4. And then I would consider all of this wave 5. Sort of like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. So it works. It does work. So to me, it appears to be the end of this downtrend. And then, so that's check number 1. So check number 1 would be number 1, right? The price impulsing and coming right back to the base. Coming right back to the base. So check number 1, right? We impulsed, and now we're back testing the top of this base. So that's check number 1. Just looking for confluence to tell me that it's, potentially done, right? Nothing's ever a for sure thing. It's not going to tell you for sure. But the more checkpoints you have, the more confident you can say, yeah, it could be done here. So that was check number 1. Check number 2, we have 5 waves here. We have 5 waves to the downside. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's check number 2. Check number 3, it appears we have, if I zoom in here a little bit more, it appears we have an impulse, but the problem with it is it's very 3-wave-ish. So 1, 2, 3, right? I would have liked to seen 4, 5. That would have told me, okay, we're kicking off a new trend here. But that didn't happen. So now you can consider this 5, right? And you can potentially say that this is some sort of like another flat correction where you have an A, B, and a C, an expanded flat, and we can start shooting up the price like this. So we have that 3-way move. So a 5 and a 3-way move and an impulse. That's definitely possible. The little issue with that to me though is that this could be it's probably too big for this wave. But again, anything's possible. The thing is when you charting crypto is hard enough, right? Like charting the stock market is a lot simpler, like simple stocks, right? Because they're trending and they have, a lot of data. But then when you trade crypto, or just looking at charts for crypto and USD, it could be more tricky because the market's more it's more erratic. It's more unknown, right? Things can happen. But then when you take a coin and then you trade it against Bitcoin, then it gets even much trickier, because if just go to any pair like Litecoin versus Bitcoin, Ethereum versus Bitcoin, XRP versus any coin versus Bitcoin, notice the way it looks. It's more challenging to read. But luckily, I think Theta isn't one of the bad ones. So I think it's actually looking quite nice for a potential bottom in here. So basically what I would like to see is, this start to pan out in here and create, some type of bottom, and then eventually a reversal out of here. So, we want to start to see a base form, right? And that could happen rather quickly, because if you look at the price of Theta, right? If you look at the price of Theta, it too has had plenty of time for this sort of sideways base, right? And then also Theta Fuel, right? Theta Fuel has had an even better of a sideways base, more clear. So again, that base can easily, fall down, right? And that would be sort of the bearish idea. But until we start breaking new lows, not really going to entertain that at the moment. But again, if Bitcoin is topping, which I think it potentially could be at its retracement levels, then you want, it's starting to go in distribution, right? So you could see, we hit the 618 right in here, right? And now we're starting to get a hard rejection. But the good thing about Bitcoin is we have a lot of wiggle room in here. So we have a lot of wiggle room in Bitcoin. Number one being the bull market support band. You can see here the price broke to the upside. It back tested the bull market support band, which then led another pump, came back down, pumped again, came back down, went underneath it for a little bit, but then quickly pumped back to the upside. So what I've been saying for the longest time is I would like to see Bitcoin come down and retest the bull market support band, and it appears like that's what's happening. And I've said it could be in the pattern of a flat. Basically, when Bitcoin was up here, I said, hey, this could be a flat or some type of off correction where this is an A, this is a B, and now we're in C. And C is nice and orderly, right? It's scaring the heck out of people. People think it's over, and it could be. But at the same time, we get a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We come down here. or maybe 1, 2's already started. This is 3, 4, and we get 5. Either way, come down here, meet up with the bull market support band, hopefully get a bounce off here. This will be the true test right here. If we can get a bounce off of that, right, and come back up, not to say it could break the high, obviously it could, but at least bounce up the price so it can start, sort of ranging in here in a more clear distribution pattern, or a much more bullish pattern. But we're not even there yet, so there's no reason to go in and speculate on what it could be when we haven't even came down here yet. So first order of business, let's get down here and see what she does. Theta and Theta versus BTC could have an extraordinary breakout against Bitcoin, Theta against Bitcoin, right? After, it tests up here and it just bounces. Without like impulsing going crazy, it can have a pretty nice breakout just bouncing off of this. So if Bitcoin bounces off of this, comes up, back up into this range, it can have a nice breakout. Now, depending what it does up here, another story. Not sure. I've often said that I think Bitcoin is in some type of, rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, some type of sideways accumulation in here. Now, you can say, how can that be good for Theta? Well, when the price is oscillating to the downside, of course, you're going to have big dumps and pullbacks. But then when it oscillates to the upside, that's when you can get these alt seasons, these little miniature alt seasons, right? And it pulls back again, another oscillation to the upside, right? So as long as it's above sort of this base, and also somewhat healthy above the bull market support band, because altcoins seem to get wrecked and no good if it's not above the support band. And in this case, it clearly is, but it hasn't tested it yet. So it needs to test it in order to confirm that that's the case. Because yes, it did test it over here, but look, it fell below it over here. So since it's fallen below, it's broken out, but it never came back to then test it again to confirm that this time it's, sustained above it. So, there's a lot of complexity to the, to unveiling what is happening and what it's going to do. It's simple when you look at the stock market. Like if you take a stock and you look at it, it's much more clear cut and dry. But when you take a look at crypto, for example, the altcoin, you got to make sure Bitcoin is doing. Not only you have to know what the altcoin's doing, you have to know what Bitcoin's doing. You got to know what the stock market is doing, right? You got to kind of, all of it has to sort of line up like the perfect, like all the stars have to align, right? So it's kind of tricky, but based off all that hard work, you get the best rewards. And just because it doesn't happen today or tomorrow, eventually it will happen. I don't know when, but if you believe in the fundamental value of what crypto is and the future implications of how it's going to be utility driven, then it doesn't matter what happens in the short term, even though we like to know for our investment's sake what's happening in the short term, right? So I'm kind of here trying to do my best to figure what that is, and hopefully it can add value to what, another slot in all the opinions that you're gathering, right? Because everybody does it. Everybody tries to figure out, hey, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Get everybody's opinion, formulate your own, figure out what that is. And so mine isn't to tell you exactly what it's going to do, because I have no idea, but we have options, and if one of those options get ruled out, then we can rule it out, and then it narrows it down to what is more of a possibility. So I'm thinking, when we were up here, a flat pattern. So basically a flat pattern is something like this, and then it goes, or something like this, you know, and then it goes, right? It depends if it's in a regular flat, expanded flat, right, or a running flat. So in this case, it looks like it's trying to be an expanded flat, potentially, right? And we come down here. So I want to see it test here. Not only that, but we also have confluence with that support with this over here. So we have like a double intersection coming up, you know, and it'll be interesting if we can impulse out of here, or at least get a bounce and oscillate in here. Either way, I think it's going to be extremely beneficial for the altcoins to sort of go on their next wave. For example, going to Theta here. Look at where Theta is. Theta also has plenty of wiggle room. So by the time Bitcoin gets to its bull market support band, right, this is also a flat. And I believe I said in my last Theta video that this could potentially be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're getting 5, right? And that fifth wave just happens to be right nearing that bull market support band. So let's see, right? It's okay if it can wick below, but let's see if that holds the price. So in other words, once Bitcoin gets down to its band, Theta can get to its band, right? And then that would sort of hopefully kick off the next wave to the upside. And basically, we've only had one wave, right? And remember, basically the Wyckoff accumulation, something like that, right? And basically saying that, you know, this was our spring. Same thing here. That was our spring. And now we had our impulse back to this resistance. Same thing here. We had our impulse back to the resistance. And if I plug this right here, that's sort of what I'm thinking this whole thing is up here. So, you know, it seems like it's bearish and scary and, hey, it doesn't look right, you know, because it's a psychological machine, right? If you're so bullish for so long, for several weeks, and then you get used to that feeling, right? It's kind of like a drug. You get used to it, and then when you take it away, it doesn't feel good, right? So you're sort of withdrawing. But then when it comes back, it feels stronger than when it was over here, right? Because your body's sort of like, you know, running with it. So basically, that's what I would like to see happen. Come back down to the bull market support band with Bitcoin, and then get the heck out of here. Or at least, if it's not going to get out, at least have a sufficient bounce where we can start to, you know, range, kind of like how you could see here where we go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then go. So we have like something like 1, 2, 3, come back down again, 4, then go, something like that. And basically that would hopefully turn out to be, this would be wave 1. This would come down for wave 2. Now wave 2 can take more time, right? And then we get that wave 3, hopefully breaking this $1.70, 75, getting us up to, you know, at least $2.30, up to, you know, $3, right? So between that little area right in here. So I'm basically looking at this anywhere between this low and this high. So basically that whole range there, right? And then a 4, and then hopefully 5 can get us a back in between this range in here. So just to show you real quick. So you have that first range in here, which is this cluster right here. So you drag that across. This is the retracement levels. This is where I believe the price eventually will head at some point. And then here's your next sort of cluster right here. So then you drag that across. So basically, you have two different, you have two different areas, right? So no point in talking about the purple one. Let's just at first get up there to the green one. So that's again between, $2.30 up to about $4.30. So, it's a nice little range there for us to get back up to. And we've only had one wave to the upside, right? And usually the third wave is the biggest. But if this turns into be only 3, right, then it tells me, okay, hopefully we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be ideal. But if this turns into be 1, 2, 3, and then we don't get that 4, 5, right? We just get 1, 2, 3. Then that tells me we're probably going to come back down and go into reaccumulation and then go. So that would be what? A rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. So that's sort of the idea there. So we don't know if it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or simple 3-wave move. So if it's 3 waves, it's corrective. So it kind of tells me like it's an A, B, and then we get C. Now, if it really wants to be bearish, C can come all the way back down here and back test this. The issue I have with that is it looks not proportional. Look how big this is compared to how massive that would be. It's just not proportional, right? So that usually it doesn't do that. Usually it's a rise, crash, retrace, comes down here, then it goes. But again, there's no reason for me to entertain that. I would just be blindly throwing a dart at the dartboard. Who knows where it's going to hit? So let's first get out of here. And I think that's approaching now. So now going back to Theta versus Bitcoin, kind of jumping around here. Let's see. So again, I had that first check, right? Check number 1. We had, our impulse, our 5 waves down, right? Going back to the base. And then, let me take all this off. And then what I like to see, let me go actually to the weekly, is you see this wave here and this wave here. So this was a low and this is a lower low. So let's see, I don't even know, I haven't even looked. Let's see if there's bullish divergence between those two lows. And yep, there is. So you could see here, let me draw it. You can see the low going down, but you can see this low going up, right? You could see from here to here is up, from here to here is down. So that, my friends, is bullish divergence. That's what you want to see between the 4th and the 5th wave. So if this whole thing, right, is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this whole wave is 5. So when you subwave it, right, this would be 4, 5, and you have divergence between the 4th and the 5th. So that's another indicator saying, hey, we most likely have at least a short-term bottom for the moment, right? And also considering the fact, if you look at Bitcoin, look how high it's gone. So here's your bear market, and here's your retracement. You retraced all the way up to the 618. So it's basically running out of gas, right? It's running out of percentage potential. That's a good word. Percentage. It's running out of percentage potential. Now, when you go to theta, it's barely right here. So Bitcoin's sitting up here, theta's down here. And you can say, well, that's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. Well, that is a good thing because it gives theta more ammunition, more of an advantage because you have more price potential to catch up back up to here, right? So let's see where that would be, where the 618 would be on this chart here. I mean, that's sitting all the way up close to $10. So it's $9.89 to be exact. So, yeah, that 618. So, you know, it has much more room. So basically, if you were to look at Bitcoin in the perspective of theta, imagine theta being at almost $10. So basically, Bitcoin is the equivalent of theta being at $10. So, and then also, even if it's only going into retracement, we still only have one wave. So even if it's this or this, I think we got to get out of here at some point. So now, to me, when I was saying before, if this could be a 1, 2, 3, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The problem with that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Wave 4 broke above wave 2. So it sort of invalidated that diagonal pattern, right? Let's see here. I was hoping we can get some divergence from here to here, but we don't. But we do have some from here to here, which is good. So, we want to. So when the price comes down, right, on a bottom, and it shoots up, oftentimes it creates bearish divergence, but it's not a problem. It basically, you know, you want to cool off the oscillators. So, for example, if I pull up this, you could see we're starting to approach that overbought area, but that's fine. But now look, you can see the prices, the RSI is coming down. That's good. You want to see it sort of cool off a little bit as the price is correcting. You want to see it cool off. That way it can have that another run up. Now, just because it goes in overbought doesn't mean anything. I mean, look how long it was an overbought over here. It just kept bouncing and bouncing in that overbought territory, and it eventually gave way. So, you know, you can see sort of this run up here, kind of like, you know, potentially what's happening here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Again, I've had all the oscillators on theta. You know, starting with the EMA ribbon, you could see, right, we're being supported by that EMA ribbon. That's a good sign. Now, we want to stay above it as best as we can, and you can see the ribbon sort of getting squeezed, which is good. You know, it's squeezing in there. It's sort of consolidating the price. Now, before I get to the other indicators, like I said in the last video, we do have wiggle room. Now, it wouldn't surprise me at all if theta came all the way back down to that 84-cent area. So in other words, this right here was a range, sort of, right? You came, you oscillated down, up, down, right? And then you broke above this range. You broke out. So it wouldn't surprise me if we come down and we back test the top of that 84-cent area. Basically, you're back testing the breakout of this range to confirm that the breakout was real and sustainable. So the easy part is breaking out. The hard part is coming down to confirm that breakout, to make it the new support, right? So if we get that, I'm assuming we will get that, not necessarily all the way down there, but somewhere in there, at least the bull market support band. But yeah, just to let you know, theta's at $1. We have sort of a 15 to 20 cent wiggle room. And, when we get down here, we would like to see a reaction, a pump out of there. People essentially buying the dip, right? Looking at the Ichimoku cloud, we are still in that, inside the cloud. I don't really use this indicator, but it is kind of good to use once in a while to see where you are. So we're sort of right in it. The idea here is to stay above that bottom green line and really to get back above that red line. But you can see here it flipped green. So right in here, you can see right here it flipped green. So that's good. That's what we want. The green crossed above the red. So we have that flip on the cloud, which is a good thing. You could also see the crypto total market cap, right? Total 3, excluding Bitcoin and Ethereum, also has flipped green, and it's quite a high above the cloud. So taking that off, this sort of helps us figure out what Theta is also doing, because you can see this is the altcoin market. This is basically every single altcoin on the planet, except for Ethereum and Bitcoin, right? So you can see here, we broke above the range, and now, we impulsed out of here, and now remember that Wyckoff accumulation pattern. What does it need to do? Well, it looks like, we're right in here. Same thing where we're right in here. And it's pretty textbook here. You could see this move to the upside, move to the upside. Then you have that move back down, move back down. Then you come up without breaking the high. You come up without breaking the high. Then the important part is you go down into a spring. Now this is a different schematic because it didn't take out the low, but it's the same thing. We came down here, right? Same thing. The spring, we came down here, then instantly shot up. And then now we're basically in this area here. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, then go. Same thing right here. Sort of, we're just basically back testing, consolidating, ranging, oscillating, right? Whatever you want to say, above this purple box. The whole idea is to stay above this purple box. And if we can't stay above that 450 billion, then at least we need to stay above that 405, 406 billion. So we have that impulse, we're correcting. Now the idea is to get out of here and get back up into this sort of range right here. So if I bring that across, get back to this next level and then reevaluate what's going on here. So that's when you can see a lot of the coins like Theta and everything else start to go. Now they can move independently, but it's usually with total 3. So you'll see a lot of the other coins start to go off. So now I'm going back to Theta Fuel. I'm jumping around, but I'm sort of painting the picture of, what I think is needed. So with Theta Fuel, basically what we want to see here, we have that 1. This could be 2. We want to come up in 3, right? And then do that same type of oscillation and then continue higher, right? So let me extend that out here. So something like that. Now, I don't know how it's going to look. And remember, this is the weekly chart, so it could take some time. It could take some time to get out of here. Let me zoom in a little bit, and then we'll go through our other indicators. Yeah, it too looks sort of like a flat pattern like Theta. And again, what's good for Theta is good for Theta Fuel. So A, B, we're probably coming down for C. Now the very low I would like, I mean, the low I would need to see is this here. So you can see this little range in here, this little cluster, right? So if I bring that out here all the way, we can have an A, B, and come all the way down to C, and then get that big reaction we want. So we want it. So what is that level? That is 0.035, and right now we're at 0.043. So we could still drop quite a bit before we can get out of here. So from the current price now, that's another almost 20%. So, but that's a good thing because we have a 20% wiggle room. We have wiggle room, so that's good. So, not to say that it has to come all the way down here. It doesn't. It doesn't at all. I mean, let's pull the fib on that and see where we can potentially stop out. Now you can do it from the base of the candles or the wick. I'm just going to do the wick. Try to get it just right. Now you can see we're already at that 618 retrace. So this might be sufficient enough. Or, you know, we can come down here to 786, 702. So, you know, we got wiggle room, basically. So, in other words, putting this picture together, you know, you got Theta Fuel, you got the total 3, you got Bitcoin, right? Tying it all together, if Bitcoin, here's Bitcoin, which by the way is clearly above the EMA ribbon, but if Bitcoin can come down, especially hold that 30K, or better yet, retest that bull market support band. I don't have it up yet, but it's somewhere right in here. Basically right in here. So Bitcoin has a lot of wiggle room, you know, which is good, right, for the altcoins. So as Bitcoin gets exhausted to the downside, retest the bull market support band, or worst case, come down to 30, 31K, we get that bounce. That is the moment where we can get that strength coming out of the altcoins. Now that could take a little bit of time, right? But it's fine because going back to that Wyckoff example where you have this M, right? And you have your spring, then you come up, you sort of dance around like this and then go. So we could just be dancing around until Bitcoin gets down here, retest it. The thing that I don't know is, are we going to break out this high, or are we just going to come up and oscillate in here like distribution and then start heading down into reaccumulation, then go on the new bull run, right? That's the big thing. But either way, expecting a bounce. And for Theta, I'm expecting, you know, at some point, you know, however it wants to play around, another pump move to the upside. So even if it's an ABC, or if it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which would be even better, either way, expecting a bounce coming out of here. Now we can come down a lot further. Like I said, we can come all the way down back to 84 cents before we get that bounce. So let's see what the fib is on that. Put it here, up to there. So the 618 comes in at 90 cents. We haven't hit it yet. So I would say between 75 and 90 cents. That would be your sort of hold the line situation. And I think it's certainly likely to happen. I mean, you can just see we've been falling for ages. You know, we had that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? Or if you do that 7-wave bottoming structure, let me see. Well, aside from that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have a clear 5-wave move, right? So, and then we have an impulse off the bottom after creating this double bottom right in here, which by the way, that's basically where that first Theta video really came out. When I really started doing these videos, I thought, you know what, I'm not going to do videos in here because I don't really have anything to add as far as value. Even in here, there's no point. But then once we started coming down in here, I thought, I think I can add some value. So I think right at 64 cents was that first Theta video, and I thought, okay, I think things can start getting exciting now, so let me try it out and give it a go. Worst case scenario, nobody watches. I go on with my life, no big deal. But luckily, people have been tuning in, and I appreciate that, and all the subscriptions, the likes, the comments. It means a lot coming from a small channel. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just gave it a go and hope for the best. So still growing. Still, hopefully, I can get up to 1,000 subscribers. That would be my goal. So if you want to help me with that, I'd really appreciate it. But anyways, we had this double bottom here, and I really like that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, double bottom, then an impulse off the bottom, right? Off the low. Now we're pulling back. We have the bull market support band. We have the back test of this range. We also have Bitcoin, plenty of wiggle room between the EMA ribbon, between the 30K, between the bull market support band of its price, right? And then if we come up here, right, what is that? That's an inverse head and shoulder. So you have your shoulder, you have your head, you have your shoulder, and then you can continue on. Now back in the earlier videos, that was my main thesis. And I kind of disregarded it after we broke this high. But it broke the high in a corrective term. So we broke it like this, where this was an A, B, and now a C. So a flat pattern that took out the high. And that's what it's designed to do. It's designed to, hey, we broke out, we're going. But no, it was a flat. So this could be lining up to be a big bullish thing because, here's your neckline right in here, right? And you could see the left shoulder, the head, and now we're forming that right shoulder. This is a good thing. We want the price to come down. I'd actually want it to come lower. If we can come down to that 80-cent area, that would be great. Buy the dip, right? Not financial advice. Anything I say on this channel is not financial advice. I could be totally dead wrong, but I don't think so. At least not at the moment. So, yeah, everything's lining up. We got that shoulder potentially working here. So, you can see here the bull market support band, right? So you want to see it start to curl up. So now that we established that, that's sort of my main thinking here. Now let's go back to Theta versus BTC. It's going to be another long video, but again, if this is your investment and you want as much information as you can, I don't think a 5 or 10 minute video does anything justice. So I'm trying to get as much information as I can. So I'm basically, again, like I'm doing like 5 or 6 videos in one video. So I want to see, and I do that because I think it's necessary. The complexity of the chart is much more, again, complex than just saying, hey, we could do this and that's it, So there's a lot of other things that can go down. So for Theta versus Bitcoin, all I really want to say is, if I have this downward resistance line and I plug it right here, you can see we are above that line, I think, ever so slightly. So it looks like, this was some kind of false breakout, or maybe we're coming back down. We're holding above this downward resistance line. So, and then you also have the bull market support band, which we are beneath. We want to get back above. So I think the only way this chart looks good is once Bitcoin flattens out or theta finish its flat correction and gets a bounce off its bull market support band. But I think this thing is shaping up to be some type of bottom. You can see divergence from here. You can see a low, higher low. Now, if this low gets taken out, then obviously basically this. If this low gets taken out, then I would think at that point we would have one more low, right? It wouldn't just keep going and going and going, even though it might feel like that. I don't think so. I think if we do take this low out, it'll be one more low, one more final flush. But as of now, this looks to be the bottom, at least as of now, right? And I think it has a good potential of being one. So we want to see it sort of range in here. And then, like the other charts, create some type of Wyckoff accumulation or some type of pattern where it, breaks out, comes down, it back tests, right? And then it starts to clear all these retracement levels in here and get back up here, which I believe that's coming at some point. If theta, so put it this way, Bitcoin is already at its retracement levels of a 618. That's big. But theta is nowhere even near it, which is good because it has a lot of potential, percentage potential. And then also, going back to what I was saying earlier, Bitcoin, the price Bitcoin is at, the level, the retracement level Bitcoin is at, is the equivalent of theta being at $10, right? So if that's the case, then, we have a lot to catch up for theta versus BTC, right? So in other words, once theta gets up to its retracement levels, depending where Bitcoin is, I think we have a really good shot at getting up here at some point with the theta versus Bitcoin chart. So that's basically it for that. Now, back in the day when I first seen this chart, it was sort of like this expanding wedge here, you could see, right? I think it was A, B, C, D, E, and then we exploded. So we're back in this sort of pattern, but that's no longer needed. I'm just looking at this as a range, and now we're back in that range, and we want to hold that range and continue making higher ranges. So I think that's on the horizon, especially going back to theta. We have this inverse head and shoulders that is potentially in the works. Okay, so now I got all that, and we have all the ideas out there. Going back to the retracement real quick. We want to see, that $10. Well, if you look at it on linear scale, you want to see between 8 and $10. So I think a minimum of that's an 8x move from where we are now. So that's a big move right there if we can get it. And I think we have a good potential of getting it. And then, you say, why? Well, again, we have this base. We have this first wave, right? Your first bull run. You have your corrective bear market. Now you have another base, right? Basically, this is your wave here. You cut it in half. We have this other base. And now it looks like it's making, there's your low. Here's your higher low. It's flattening out in this base, and it's getting ready, hopefully, to curl up and get out of here. Now, is it going to break this high? Again, I don't know. Usually it doesn't. The first time, usually it goes a rise, crash, retrace. Then it comes down, makes another range. So you have 1, 2, 3, right? And then it's sort of like a cup and handle pattern where you get up here, then you come back down, then you oscillate again for for who knows how long. It could be a few months, it could be 6 months, it could be even a year, right, before getting out of here. So that would be a big cup and handle pattern. So let's sort of, maybe we can measure that. Let's measure that and see, just for fun, contingent on, let's see, if we can get back up to here. So I would think probably there. So somewhere right there. And then it's very preemptive, but just for fun, just for entertainment purposes, right? We come up here, we get to that cup, right? And then we come down into that handle. And it's not a cup, I mean, it is a cup and handle, but it's really a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways, blast off. That's what it is. That's what Bitcoin's done. I could show you an example if you've never seen before, right here. For those who haven't seen before, you have a rise, you have a crash, you have a retrace, you have reaccumulation, you have this sideways, and it's really just like a cup and a handle, and then you go, right? So if you take that was the top, right, and I measure it from here, about there, and then I basically take this line and put it here, just about, and then I take this line and I put it on top. It got near, about close to where it topped out at, right? About, not, it actually exceeded the target, which is always a good thing, but there you go. That was the target. So now let's do that for theta and see what we got. So I'll take it from the base to the top, and then I'll take it now, and I'll take it right. Let's try to be a little conservative. What do you got? Wow, $114. Now, do I think it's going to hit that? I don't know. Some people don't think so. Some people think more along 40, 50, 60. But I think it's got a good chance of getting to that 70, 80, 90. Even possibly 100. Now, Bitcoin exceeded its cup and handle pattern. Now, I don't know where the cup ends, and I don't even really like using patterns, cup and handle patterns, right? I mean, it's just, it's more about the phases. But it's interesting that the phases actually shape into a cup and handle, right? So we'll see what happens. But hey, if the measured move is 114, at least we can get up to somewhere in this area, which would be a massive percentage gain. So if you just take that here, I mean, you're talking 10,000% if it can get up there. But even if it could just get to $30, that's still another 3,000%. So either way you look at it, it's looking really good. So now, I think I basically said everything. Let's look at, so if you look at the monthly chart and you look at the MACD, I know there's not a lot of data and it's really preemptive, but if you look here, you could see something beautiful. You could see the histograms going lower, 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 and you can see, look at this right here. Let me make it big so we can all see it. You can see right there, look at that. It flipped green. But not only that did it flip green, we also have a cross. So, and then if you look even closer, you could see the first green, right? And then the second green histogram is even bigger than this one. So you can see it's continuing. It's trending up, 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 flipped green, continuing to trend up, and we got the cross, right? So there you go. I mean, come on. And then look at this. I'm looking at the monthly chart. You have an impulse, and you're above the bull market support band. And then check this out. This is the lucid SAR. Basically, coming back over here, you could see the stars, right, are above, and then the candle right here breaks above the star, and now the stars are below, and look what happened after that, a big bull run. So you can see here, when the stars are above, all over here, that was the bear market, right? The monthly bear market. But now look, this is the monthly chart too, so this is a big deal. You could see right here, the candle, the monthly candles broke above the stars. Now the stars are not acting as resistance on top, but they're now acting as support on the bottom. So that to me is a big signal. I mean, look at that. That looks like a beautiful chart right there. You got your sideways base. You have this beautiful pump, beautiful correction, and now you're starting to get the heck out of here. Now, again, it's a monthly chart, so it could spend it could take some time before we can get out of here, but we'll, in my opinion, eventually get out of here, and I'm thinking we're getting back into these retracement levels, and the same thing, right, with Bitcoin. Oh, look at that. I didn't even know that. Look at that. The stars, the price broke above the stars with Bitcoin. Theta versus Bitcoin. And then if you look at the MACD with Theta versus Bitcoin, look at this. You can start to see it hasn't crossed yet, but it's getting close. We haven't got any green candles yet, but look at it's getting close. You can see this. It looks like it wants to do that. So everything's on the right track, ladies and gentlemen. So this video is brought to you by a individual that you don't know, but rest assured is very comfortable with what's happening. So, and for Theta Fuel, I know, yeah, see, it hasn't happened for Theta Fuel, but that's okay. It'll eventually get there. So for me, Bitcoin is in a good position. Total 3 is in a good position. Theta versus Bitcoin, good position. Theta Fuel is also in a good position above the bull market support band. And obviously Theta, right? So I'm looking at this as, you know, we had a big dump, right? I mean, think about it. We were up here at $1.45. And now we're all the way back down below almost $1. So that's, you know, as an investor, that's kind of concerning. The reason for these videos is to say, hey, this is normal. This is fine. This is nothing to worry about. You know, again, we can see something like a shoulder ahead and maybe another shoulder, and we can get out of here. Even if we dropped below 90 cents or even 85 cents, we still have, we're still in a good spot, right? Because remember, we impulsed, look at this, from the bottom here all the way to the top. We went up 150%. That's a massive move. So you're telling me that, you know, that we need a correction. Theta deserves to take a break. Theta, you know, it went up 150%. It deserves to stop and have a glass of water. So that's what's happening. Just having a drink before the next potential kickoff. I mean, it could take some time, but again, monthly chart. So we'll see. Keep an eye on Bitcoin. Keep an eye on all of it, and we will figure out what happens. But that is it for this video. Again, I thank you guys so much for tuning in, watching. If you can, please leave a like and a subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Again, my goal is trying to get to 1,000. And hopefully I can get there soon. And continue spreading the message, because from what you guys told me, you know, not a lot of people are doing Theta videos, especially the TA videos. So hopefully the momentum will shift, right? As if you can share the video and get people on board, you know, for that momentum to start, you know, accelerating, because what's good for momentum is good for everybody's portfolio at the end of the day. But anyways, thank you guys. I appreciate all of you, and I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.